Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. I really appreciate being here. I think, can everybody hear me all right?
Yep,
Okay,
you
great.
sound good.
I think this timing was really fortuitous because I got the idea to actually do this presentation as because I felt like I could had a story in Ashley Bratcher's career that would be beneficial to those of us considering the idea of life beyond the diamond. So let me get on to that. The reason you don't have a biography of Ashley is because you're going to get one over the course of this presentation. So, all right. So where am I here? Oh, wait, that's right. Got to go to slideshow. Sorry. Okay. All right. This is Ashley Bratcher. She is currently the general manager for national teams for USA Baseball. But she is also a former student at my school. And that's how I got to know her. She was while at Ravenscroft School. It's a small school in Raleigh, North Carolina. She was an all-around star, an outstanding student, the star of the basketball team over the course of 4 years, winning numerous awards. She was the star of the softball team, being similarly honored. And so it was, but at the same time, she has now ended up in a very different place. And I think that is very much a testimony to her and to her all-around talents. To say one other award she got, she was picked by her classmates appropriately as the most athletic female in the class, and she has certainly continued to show that. Ashley was one of those kind of students that as principal, I didn't actually get to deal with as much as I'd like. Anybody who knows how schools operate know that principals get to deal with the kids who are problematic. The kids like Ashley, who was a star student and a star athlete, I could only get to watch, but her exploits were obvious, and I did get to enjoy that over time. At the same time, one of the things that was very clear about her throughout her time at Ravenscroft was that sports were a centerpiece. And so I was not surprised when she went on to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill that she would continue to be in that realm. Um, at the time she entered college, she thought that she might be a coach or she might go into sports medicine, in part because she had had an experience. You see her up there in the corner. In the one season that she had off when she wasn't playing basketball or softball, she was a student trainer. We had a very, very charismatic athletic trainer who had a sports athletic training class and had student trainers that were really ready to go, were very, very active in serving the students, and a number of them went on. So Ashley started at UNC Chapel Hill believing that probably the sports management, or excuse me, as a sports management major, but on the training side of things was the direction that she was going to go in. However, while she had hoped to originally play at least club softball at Carolina, in typical fashion, getting involved with plenty of things, she played rugby in the fall and got injured. And so by the time the spring rolled around, she was unable to play softball. So looking very much to be involved, she heard from a friend that the Carolina women's soccer team, this team that led Dean Smith to once say, no, we're not a football or a basketball school, we're a soccer school, was looking for managers. She checked it out and got involved. And as a result, she got to see a very different side of sports. As a manager, she got to get a lot of sense of the things that kind of happening behind the scenes. She enjoyed it. And no less importantly, by being a student manager, she was able to be involved with the UNC soccer camps, a group that over the course of 6 sessions in the summer saw 1,500 campers go through, 100 different staff members, all of which gave her a sense of what sports off the field could be like. I mean, literally, as one of the people involved with the running of the camp, she was processing medical forms, applications, hiring coaches, hiring staff, dealing with the liaison for facilities, setting up daily schedules, distributing gear. It was a all involved, all encompassing experience that gave her a sense of really the other things in sports, the things kind of outside the diamond, outside the lines for soccer purposes. And she found it to be very rewarding, very interesting. and something that she suddenly realized maybe that could work. To seal the deal indirectly, because life does intrude sometimes, she found that as a potential trainer, there was a cadaver course requirement. And after a quick look at what that entailed, she realized that that was not necessarily the direction she wanted to go. I think there are many people, some people get weeded out by the professor in pre-med type things, others have it happen another way. But anyway, she quickly realized that that was not going to happen. And so she happily, because it was the sports management program was under the same curricular bent as the sports training was, so she was able to make that shift without a major problem. So as a result, she was now going in a different direction. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily explain how she got to USA Baseball. So, and that's really where we are, and that's where the baseball tie is today. USA Baseball, her arrival there was, as she puts it, it was one of those things of being in the right place at the right time. At the time, while she was in her sophomore year at UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Baseball had made a decision to move out of Arizona, where their headquarters had been at that time. And in looking at places, they thought that the Research Triangle Park, the Raleigh-Durham area, would be a potentially very lucrative or very productive one. You're in the Southeast, you got the kind of good weather. And it was, after lots of negotiations and what have you, they decided that it was the place to be. And so as a result, in the spring of 2005, they announced that they were going to move. Arrangements were made, and by 2007, they had the USA Baseball National Training Complex opened in June of 2007. Now, at that point, Ashley is still at UNC, but she is beginning to think about other things. And as she prepared to graduate in the class of 2009, she was hoping to go to graduate school and decided she wanted to get an internship. And so on a flyer, she applied for an internship with USA Baseball. She did it, and in some respects, this is reflective of her approach, one that I'm going to talk a little bit more about that serves her well. Even though the announcement for the internship specifically made reference to baseball experience, which by her own acknowledgement she didn't have, she still thought the internship sounded enticing enough to give it a shot. Figured the worst it would do is they wouldn't get back to her. Well, in fact, they did get back to her, and they offered her the internship. And it was one that gave her a full sense of what happened in a complex like this, in a program like this. She got to be involved with hiring and managing game-to-day staff. She started to work in the store, got merchandising area, lots of things. She basically saw everything. It was an opportunity to do things that she had never had a chance to do, and she showed that she could do them and do them well. Indeed, so well did she do it that in a somewhat awkward situation, her boss was fired at the end of the summer. Ashley was asked to stay on and continue the internship and take over his responsibilities, which he had actually been doing earlier in the year, which is part of why he was not back. And as a result, or shortly thereafter, or later in the fall, she was actually offered full-time position to take over as director of operations, as well as the women's national team. It was just getting really started at that point in time. So it was a great opportunity. She would hold that position until December 2012 and begin her experience and her career in USA Baseball. As I say, she started as an intern, moved into the director of operations and women's team. She held that position until 2012. 2012, she becomes the director of national team development and programs and the women's national team. In that role, she would promote the national team. She was the primary vehicle to identify athletes and coaches for those young national teams. And it becomes a major step. Meanwhile, she is learning about logistics. She's learning about budget. She's learning about all of these kind of things hiring staffs, et cetera, that we don't necessarily think about, but are obviously critical to an operation like this, critical to any kind of long-term major program. So by 2015, she is promoted to be Senior Director of Baseball Operations, job she holds actually for the longest period of time. Throughout this, in this role, she was responsible for the general management of all of the baseball operations throughout, as well as continuing to serve as the supervisor for the developing women's national team. During that time period, she led the 15 and under national team to 3 consecutive gold medals, including the organization's first ever under 15 baseball World Cup medal. She had supervised a staff of multiple individuals, both and as well as more than twice that many interns. She managed a budget of over $2 million and was involved with this full range of experiences, which is something she has relished. In April 2021, she became the general manager of just the under 18 national team, one that the organization was intent on getting to another level, which in fact they would do while she was head. Now, in the midst of all of this, in a career that has now put her at the general manager of all national teams, there's obviously lessons to be learned. And for purposes of this forum, I wanted to get a sense of that. And I asked her at the top, what is it? Do you have advice for people who may be coming up behind you? What could they do that would help them get to these same spots? In typical fashion, she was a little reluctant to share that because she said that, she didn't have all the answers by any stretch. But she did say definitively, arguably, by her terms, the single most important thing she found was that saying yes has proved impactful. She said that one of the things that has been so critical to her development, to her experiences, is when an opportunity has presented itself, or sometimes when it's just been put out there and it's just, anybody want to do this, that saying yes has been critical. She has had an opportunity to do things. She has surprised herself in many cases by being able to do something that she wasn't sure she could do, but was willing to take a gamble on it. And as a result, has had a number of great experiences. Again, if you go back to it in a sense, her willingness to apply for the internship with USA Baseball was also very much reflective of this attitude and mindset. This slide of the picture that she sent me when I asked her for some pictures. She's a panelist there right next to the right of the moderator in the middle. Minor League Baseball's Business of Baseball workshop. She told me, she said that Gene Afterman and Jessica Mendoza were the highlights of the panel. She's still not sure why she was selected for it, but I think it's probably reflective of the fact that even at this point, she has started to do things that have gotten attention. But the bigger thing was that when that opportunity presented itself, she was going to take advantage of it. And again, that is very, very central to how she has operated and the benefits of what, and it has benefited her in her career climb. Now, in addition, what else? That I asked her about mentors. She said she didn't really have a single one. She also was reluctant to try to highlight anyone for fear of leaving others out. But she said it was less about people than it was about an approach to things. She said she has tried always to be taking full advantage of any people that she has come into contact with. She said the centerpiece of being able to move to these next steps, to do the job she's had to be, has been whether she has been able to learn from other people. She has seriously, anybody she comes in contact with, she has tried to learn from them. She has been, I think she is a very good listener, has learned that, given those people a sense of her seriousness of purpose, of her intensity, of her valuing them. Each conversation, she builds relationships, and from that comes a sense of what she is able to. She said it also helps really validate her as a woman in a male's environment. She said those people, they see that intensity, they see that interest, they see that willingness and desire to learn, and they are willing and able to help her. And from that, she draws upon those experiences to do her job. Now, there are certainly certain things, and as she did cite one specific experience she had that was critical. Although unfortunately, as she said, it no longer exists. But she said a turning point in her career was attending the Major League Baseball Scout School in 2016. She said she learned a tremendous amount about analyzing and talent, about better understanding what to look for. She said it gave her credibility with other people and has in her subsequent positions. But again, this was also something she wondered about it. She didn't have a sense of it. Obviously, she was not a scout and was not looking to get into that, but she did feel that it was something that would potentially help her. And she wanted very much to take advantage of an opportunity like that. So now, as I say, she said that saying yes was critical, but we talked about some of the other things that were no less important as far as skills that a prospective individual working outside the lines needed to develop, needed to have to be able to succeed in these areas. Three major things she cited. Problem solving was one. The jobs is basically about solving problems, and no 2 days are the same. You have to see what's there and you have to address it. What do we need to do today? She told me of an example. She also said that in that same vein, you need to keep calm. Something arises, there's a problem, that's what have you, you need to stay calm, you don't panic, you deal with it, you deal with what you can. She told me of an early time in her experience where she was in a car with 3 other interns, her as the full-time staff member, and these 3 interns on their way to an event. One of the interns was driving, and the intern inadvertently rear-ended another car. And Ashley said she just freaked out. Not necessarily a reaction that would necessarily be surprising. On the other hand, she said right away, all right, that's not going to help us. Let's get into this. Where are we? What do we have to do? Let's look at, no, panic isn't going to help. We have to deal with what we have here. We have an accident. We have to address it. And that kind of thing is critical to how you need to do your job and move forward. The other thing she said that is absolutely critical in the baseball world that she has inhabited is communication. Given where she is, given the current job, given the one she has had before, she has had a wide range of audiences that she has dealt with. She literally goes from 12-year-olds and their parents who are getting their first test of kind of baseball in that bigger range, more competitive range, what have you. And then at the same time, she has also dealt with and deals with Major League Baseball figures there, others. I mean, I know it, and all of that, and to be able to communicate effectively with each of them, whether it's explaining to people what their responsibilities are going to be, whether it's giving good news and bad news to players for the various teams, and trying to find staff that is going to be able to work with the particular needs. All of that is key to keyed into communication, and has to be done in a very, very very, very comprehensive way. One of the other things, as far as kind of her leadership approach, Ashley is a great believer and a great practitioner of leadership by example. She said one of the things that she likes about working with the range of different things at this job with USA Baseball is the number of different things she is able to do. She loves the fact that she can be involved totally. Central to her philosophy is she will never ask someone to do something that she isn't willing to do, or that in many cases she hasn't already herself done. She wants to be a part of this, and this also comes to another aspect of her approach to things, which is teamwork is central. That may well come from her play as a former athlete, but she says it's critical to that. Her goal is to get everybody working together. She wants to be involved with that as well. So in the course of all of these things, she has had a great number of successes. Got the U.S. team to the Pan Am qualifiers and the first American women's team to win the Pan Am gold medal. 15 and under World Cup team. But all of it has been a product of a range of different types of work. I mean, the kind of things she has done and that she relishes doing with this whole range. You're assembling teams, you're assembling staff, schedules, on the field, in the office, food, travel, anything else that may be needed. And in the end, you are making it all come together. Now, I asked her if that was sort of enough given her competitive background as an athlete. And she said that there were times that, yes, you would put everything together and it comes up short. And that's frustrating when you don't have any control. I mean, all of these things, but she said in the end, it was very rewarding, and that at the same time too, there is no downside per se. While she was answered my question of have there ever been any disappointments, and she said yes, the gold medals we didn't win, but she said at the same time every loss is a learning possibility. So again, she loves doing this. She loves being involved from top to bottom. She isn't sure what the next step is. She has interviewed with Major League Baseball and finds that way too compartmentalized. She really does love this kind of top to bottom involvement that she has. And I know we're running close to the question and answer time, so I want to wrap up. She said that one of the things she feels like she's involved with pure baseball at this point. It's all about the baseball. The money is not driving things in quite the same way that it does in some of the other things. She loves the range of different people, whether it's major league people, 12-year-olds, foreign representatives, other teams from other countries is all very rewarding. And she says that realistically, again, to see the gold medals, winners, she has built a career that's really kind of based on experiences and relationships, as this quotation said after she was named national team manager. And that's really something she has liked. Got more of the kind of the accomplishments. But she said, in the end, what happens is you have spent all this time pulling together this team, and in the end, you have a collection of people who are forever bonded. And she said, there is no feeling in the world like that. And I would argue that that's a pretty good legacy. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Do people have questions?
Get out of here.
Oh, Josh is clapping. Let me check the comments. Yes, the say yes to everything. Actually, I think Shonda Rhimes has a book about her saying yes to everything for a year and how that worked out for her. But
yeah, I mean, Ashley said it means you don't have a whole lot of downtime. But on the other hand, she just talked very much about how much the opportunities to learn and grow from those things, many of which she was like, I'm not sure I can do this, but.
So yes, Liz mentions that book is called A Year of Yes. And Meredith has a question. What made you want to do this presentation?
I knew what Ashley was doing vaguely. I actually had been in touch with her about 3 years ago, I guess, when I was working on the SABR book on the Red Sox 20th anniversary of the 2004 Curse Buster. And one of the people I had been assigned was the longtime pitching coach, Dave Wallace. And I suddenly realized, wait, Dave had recently coached on the U.S. Olympic team, and I knew that USA Baseball was involved with that. So on a flyer myself, I called Ashley and said, is there any way you have contact information for Dave Wallace? And she gave it to me, and I had a couple of great interviews with Dave. And so I'm thinking that, she is having a very rewarding baseball career outside the diamond. And I thought, all right, let me, I think it was a story, as I said at the start, that has some potential for guidance for others. I mean, as a teacher and a college counselor for years, I've worked with a lot of kids who have certain dreams. I mean, I've directed more than a few kids who have done nothing but sports in high school, but know that that's the end of their playing career, and say, baseball, the sports world has other things. I've got a son, frankly, who had 4 years in high school, 3 varsity sports each year. But that was going to be the end of it. And he is now a sports management major in college and is is very much looking forward to continuing to stay involved in the sports he loves. So.
And Maureen asks questions. What does she want to do next? I think you touched upon this toward the end, where like
Yeah,
keeping options open.
she originally thought at a certain point that she would kind of go from the experience she's had now to probably go into a college environment and being kind of director of baseball operations. But she really right now loves the range of experiences that she gets, and the range of things that keeps making it new. So there's nothing definitive on her plate now, and I've definitely asked her about that. But I mean, I'm curious, after last night's session talking about the World Championships, got to believe that somehow USA Baseball will be involved with the women's championships in some way. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. And she's been involved with the women's national team, as I had said. So.
Well, any other questions? Well, thank you again for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity.